Hey everybody, Ryan Yule here with another video tutorial in motion for the Africa Digital Media Academy. And today we're going to be looking at filters. Now, filters, for those of you that come from Final Cut or After Effects or Photoshop, there's probably a lot of people here watching this video that are very familiar with filters. So I just want to talk a second about filters and what kind of my take on filters are. And that is, first off, when you start playing around with filters, you have this idea that you want to like really just go crazy. Like, I'm just going to apply, all kinds of crazy filters here, and we got some bad TV happening, and let's also add some line art here, and let's just really like maybe even go like noise dissolve, sure, and just really start going crazy here. Let's add circles. Great. And now we have this like really stylized, filtered video. But the thing is that if there's not a reason for why you're applying your filters, if you're just applying them because, well, I think it kind of looks cool or it kind of does something different, I don't think you're really using filters in the way they're meant to be used. And that is, filters are really there to, have a purpose. Just like everything in your videos should have a reason. The text should be there for a reason. The colors you're using should have a reason. And I also believe filters should be there for a reason. So looking at our footage here, this is a guy, he's breakdancing. So the first kind of thing about filters is I'm just going to do a subtle filter. When I say subtle, what I mean is it's kind of there, but it's not too obvious that the filter is there. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go into stylize here, or maybe let's find glow. I'm going to add glow here. So here's glow, and it tells you it just adds a basic glow to the object. I'm going to apply it, and then I'm going to go into the inspector, into my glow settings, and I'm just going to play around with it because I just want to make the video kind of just glow just a little bit more than it does. So I'm just going to change the opacity maybe a little bit, and play around with the threshold, maybe play around with the mix. And my goal is just to have a very subtle, effect. So I turn this off and on, maybe increase the radius a little bit, increase the opacity. And as you can see here, this filter that I'm using, it's just really subtle, like it's not overly complex. It doesn't really pay too much attention to itself. And we've kind of just given this video this more of a glow thing. Like sometimes when you watch, movies and it's taking place maybe in someone's mind, or, someone is in like, like a different environment that isn't realistic, and so they have this white background. A lot of times you'll find they might put just a slight glow on it to give it this kind of like, different feeling. So when I play it now, you can see the glow it's subtle. It's not huge, but it is there. So this is an example where, I use this filter to kind of give that white background and this kind of feeling like we're, in kind of a special place. Whereas when I take it off glow, you can start to notice, well, maybe it's just a normal white background. So that's an example of a subtle, it's not too big of a change, but it's just there to kind of add to the effect. So that's an example of a filter just kind of helping things, but not going too big, too large, too over the top. Now, we can also really stylize using filters. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to delete this, go back to my library, go into filters, and I'm going to go to one called edges. So let's find edges. Here is edges, and I'm just going to apply that. And now you can see, wow, this has definitely made something. Now there's not as big of a change, so let's go in here and let's up the intensity. And now you can see we're getting a little bit of a white edge background here, so I'm just going to get rid of that by expanding the video. So it just gets rid of those white edges like that. And now I'm going to go into Inspector, and I'm going to look at my edges, and you can see here we've got intensity all the way max and mix. So now you can see this is definitely something that is really bringing up, using the filters, definitely it's definitely a strong filter that really is obvious that we have stylized something here, whereas the other one was subtle. And we can even go further with this. Let's go into here and let's get something like, maybe, how about bloom? Let's try that. Let's add bloom, see what happens here. So now with bloom, you can see when I turn it on, it makes things a little bit brighter. And if we go to the inspector and look at the amounts, we can even up the amount here and, you know, change the thresholds. And so now it's really, you know, really just, you know, big here. And we can maybe even change the vertical even more, or decrease the horizontal. And, you know, and then we can even go back into the library here, maybe take a look at something, you know, like, how about even add another glow to this. So we're adding another glow, and that even adds more, go to the inspector. And so we can really start to, you know, add layers of things. And so now you can see we really are, you know, changing what this this video looks like, and it's definitely stylized now, right? Like, here we go, videos going around, and this is an example of something where it's really, you know, over the top. And the other thing I want to point out is that one thing we can do is we can even use keyframes to change what this looks like. So for instance, if I take bloom off for a second, so we just have glow. You know, if I go into glow here, maybe I only want the glow to happen when he's spinning. So for instance, when he's not spinning, we're just going to have it down at 0. I'm going to keyframe this, and then I'm going to move forward here. And then just as he goes to spin like this, we're going to add another keyframe. And then as he's spinning here, right to this middle point, I'm going to increase the radius to like, let's say that. And then when he comes back and he puts his hands down, we're going to go back to 0. And then when he spins around again, I'm going to bring this back up. And then when he puts his hands down again there. So basically, when he's putting his hands down to start himself spinning, I'm just decreasing the glow. And then when he's fully spinning, I'm just increasing the radius of the glow. So I'm just doing this by hand. And you can see that now I can use keyframes to even like affect the way the filters are working, to really accentuate something. And the reason I'm doing this is because as he's spinning, I'm really trying to, you know, make it show like, hey, like this guy's really spinning, you know. So, you know, maybe down at the end here, we just really go and just all the way for it here, like that. Okay, and now I'm just going to go and I'm just going to zoom out and just even make this a bit bigger here, just so that we don't get these white edges. Okay, like that. So now, when we play this back, you're going to see that as he spins, he's going to start to really glow like that, and then he's going to slow down and glow. And so, you know, the reason I chose to add the glow more when he's spinning is it's just a way of really showing off the movement, yeah? And the other thing we can do here is it doesn't have to be just, you know, this effect here. What happens if we go and we take the video and we duplicate it and get rid of all the filters so that, you know, we now have the original video underneath, and now maybe what we can do is we can go into here and change in properties, maybe change the blend mode so that, you know, it's something like subtract. So now we have the effect going on, of course, but instead of it being the straight up effect, we're blending it using a blend mode of subtract. And so now, when you look at it, it kind of gives it this interesting kind of cartoon look, you know, and it's definitely, you know, stylizing in a way where we're mixing it back in with the original video. And then maybe you're like, you know what, it's too obvious what's going on here. Let's decrease the opacity of that effect and just make it like subtle, you know, so like maybe just make it like something like that. And now you can see that when he starts to spin around, You know, there's just this subtle effect there of something going on. It's almost like it's adding some motion blur, or just, you know, the effect, it's not as pronounced. So again, we're back to more of a subtle effect. So filters can give you a subtle, not so big change. They can give you a huge change. But most often, you really have to be careful that you're using filters for a reason. You're not just doing it to be cool, but, you know, in this case, I'm increasing the glow amount when he's turning to really show off the movement, and I'm just trying to give it a little bit more energy. So it gives it something like a different look. Now one last thing I want people to be aware of when it comes to filters is the order. So if I just turn this off for a second so we can just see this amount, you'll see here that we have edges being found first and then glow. And the way this works is the filters work from bottom to top. So what happens is, if I turn these off for a second, so here's our original video. You'll notice that edges, when I turn them on, this is what happens. It finds the edges. Whereas if this is glow, you can see glow just slightly makes things more of a glow. So if I find edges first, because it's at the bottom, and then I add a glow, you'll see what motion does is at first it finds the edges and then it finds the glow. And the way that works, and I'm just going to even show that even more, is you can see here is that if I were to switch the order, so if I were to take the glow right here and move it down to edges, you would see now what's happening is that this object or video is first having a glow applied, right? So here's the glow being applied, and then after the glow is applied, then it finds the edges. And you'll actually see that it's actually changing the way this works. So if I switch these back, what that means is first it finds the edges, right? And then it adds the glow. So you always want to be aware of the order of your filters, where in motion it starts with the bottom one and then works its way up. So it does the edges first, then glow. Then if there was another one, it would work its way up, up, up. So it actually is important, the order that you do your filters, because that changes the way they're affected. So for the assignment, this is what I want. I want people to make 4 separate parts of the screen. So I want you to import 4 of these videos. So I've given you 8 to choose from. So I'm going to choose maybe this guy and this guy, maybe this one, and let's say this one like this. So once you have your 4 pieces of video, what I want you to do is I want you to scale them down. And what you can do is just take it like here and hold down Shift to keep the proper aspect. And so I'm going to have this one right here on this side, and then next up I'm going to have this one on this side, and then I'm going to have this one on this side, like that. And last but not least, this one on this side. I'm holding down Shift here so it keeps the proper aspect ratio. So what I want you to do is I want you to take 4 different videos and stylize each one in a different way, using filters, using keyframes. If you want to add behaviors to the filters, you can do that. But the goal here is to, for a reason, choose different filters, and they can be either subtle little changes or they can be big changes, but I want you to really think about what filters you're using and why to really show off the motion of these dancers, okay? So the goal here is you're really showing off the motion, and the filters that you're applying should really help add to the energy or to the movement, or maybe to showing off a certain aspect of what they're doing. Okay, so I don't just want you to throw filters on randomly. I want you to really think about what filters you're using and why, and really start using keyframes to change the filter amount or the aspect of the filter, and really just create 4 different unique looks that show off what you think are the best ways to use filters for these videos. And that's going to be a look today at filters and keyframing filters and order of filters in your project pane in Motion.